This is my podcast where I talk about stuff and things, cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. I'm a DJ and a creative consultant, regular human girl. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter at Amber Killer, and for playlists and mixes on SoundCloud and Spotify at Amber Killer. I hope everyone is doing well. Today we have a guest, Miss Kicki. She is a Chinese-born artist and influencer based in Berlin, Germany. I met Kicki quite a few years ago, so it's been really amazing to see her blossom and shine and thrive. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about her experience growing up in Germany, her experience working in the creative industry, and also her boyfriend and her relationship. Stay tuned for all the tea. Make sure that you follow Kicki on social media as well. I'll leave her links in the description. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this episode. Hi Kicki, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the podcast. So good to have an excuse to chat to you. It's been so long.
It's been really long. We probably haven't seen each other in like 3 years.
Yeah, at least like 2.5, probably.
Yeah, long time.
Were you in Shanghai end of 2019?
Yes, in December for Intersect. That was probably the last time we saw each other.
Over 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so how about you introduce yourself and then we can talk about how we met and go from there.
So I'm Kicki. I'm a Virgo. I work as an artist and I would say influencer in Berlin. And yeah, it's fun, I guess. Sometimes a bit stressful, but I would say I'm pretty happy with my occupation. I'm like Amber, I'm Chinese, but I moved to Germany with my parents when I was born in Germany, then I moved with my parents to Shanghai because my dad was working there, and then we moved back when I was 5. So when I was here in Germany and went to kindergarten, like it was kind of weird because I spoke Chinese and the other kids spoke German, and but the great thing is about like when you're kids, you learn languages really fast. So yeah, and since then I've been living in Germany.
How did we meet? We can start there. I remember
2006.
Yeah, or 2017 because I had moved to Shanghai.
I remember it like that because that year I wanted to like bring one of my good friends to China, and he fucked up getting his visa. So I was like, girl, you just wasted $700 on plane tickets. But he was like, okay, fuck it. And I was like, okay, but I still want to go. So I went by myself, and I was like, great, now I'm here. And you know, the thing is like I love to do things alone also, but I was like, I'm gonna be here for like 3 weeks or something, and to be alone the entire time is kind of weird. And I'm not that close to my family in Shanghai because like most parts of my closer family are in other cities. And then I posted on Instagram, hey, like I'm in Shanghai, does anyone want to hang out? And then you slid into my DMs. And I remember we talked a lot like online before we then met. And the first time I saw you we met at a bar and at the bar, but during the day it was empty, and you were like had like a business meeting there.
Yeah, I was doing PR for a restaurant or something.
Yes.
And I was like, I have to have a meeting, but let's meet after and then go fuck shit up.
Yeah, and then we met in this like kind of bougie-ish restaurant. And then we spent like a lot of time together. Like I remember like that trip we met pretty much like every day and did a bunch of stuff, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so long ago. Oh my god. And I have the worst memory, so I love when people can like repaint a picture of my life for me. Anyway, okay, so what was it like for you growing up in Germany? Because I remember when we first met, you said that like you didn't really think that much of your experience growing up, but I feel like maybe over the past few years, like you've had more time to reflect over it and maybe your perspective has changed.
Yes,
I don't know if that's
I think
presumptuous,
definitely because I moved to Berlin like 5 years ago. And I think what really helped me when I moved to Berlin was also to understand certain types of like microaggressions and like racism, which was racist, but I didn't realize it in the moment back then because first of all, I was a kid, and as a kid you're like super innocent, and also like I never had really had anyone to like share my experiences with, because in our school back then with like 1,200 people, my sister and me were the only two Chinese kids. There were no other Chinese kids, and I think we had like one Vietnamese girl, so it was like 3 Asians on a school of 1,200 people. And we and then I moved to Berlin. I felt like Berlin is not the rest of Germany. Berlin is very international. Like a lot of people from all kinds of different places come here. And then I was talking to people, and then I realized, oh, like what people said to me back then was actually fucking racist. I just didn't realize. Oh, can I swear on the podcast? I just
Yeah.
And it was like literally things like for example, my mom, she works in a restaurant, and I remember in elementary school there was this like one douchey dad of another kid. Like we had like a summer festival thing where we were like barbecuing and stuff, and he I said, what are your parents doing? I was like, yeah, my dad is a computer scientist and my mom works in a restaurant. He was like, oh, do you serve dog in your restaurant? I was like, what? Then I didn't get it as a kid, you know. I was just like, no, we have like pork and beef, and I was just like naming meats,
Listing
like,
menu items, tuna, fried rice.
and just stuff like that. And then I didn't understand why he asked me, do you guys serve dog meat in your place? And it was a lot of like things like this, which like now, also after going to therapy, I realized, oh, okay, that was actually not okay. And it made me feel very alienated. And I realized also like later on when I was like 18, 19, I had a phase where I would like bleach my hair like really, really blonde. I was wearing like blue contacts, and then I realized later on, oh wait, I was trying kind of to look white in a certain way, like but not really like on a conscious level. It was like more like I just thought it was pretty in that moment. And I was like trying like these like tapes for my eyes because I have monolids, and I was trying to imitate on the outside like being white. And I was like, okay, that was, maybe it has something to do with how I grew up and what people were telling me is like pretty and beautiful. And I'm really happy I'm over that now.
Wow. Because I feel like for me, when I was younger, I was hyper aware of racism and microaggressions. It was almost like a curse that I was so aware at such a young age, and I couldn't express or communicate it to people around me, and I didn't have anyone to share the experience with. But I've met so many people who only started to come to terms with it like recently or at a later age, which is interesting because I didn't have anyone to talk about it with when I was younger anyway. So it was just like...
Asian friends in general, like in school?
No, not really. Like there was definitely Asians at school, not that many, and I was friends with like a lot of white kids, and I don't think anyone else really saw what I could see yet. And also for other Asians, they were just more like focused on study, or they had their own Chinese or Asian community outside of school, so they were very like in and out of school, but I was kind of like integrated into all different social groups and stuff.
Okay.
So I think because I was more like quote unquote assimilated to Australian culture, because I was looked after by an elderly Australian couple when my mom was working when I was younger, so it was easier for me to like communicate with white kids.
Oh, that was really different. Like my parents, like I had nannies because my parents were also working, and they thought it was really important that the nannies were all Chinese. Like I had like 4 or 5 different nannies through like the years, and they were all Chinese because and we also had like rules at home. For example, my mom would tell me like when I speak German at home, she doesn't understand me, because it was really important for her that I still practice the language every day. And my mom was very, very strict about that.
Yeah, like I wish I spent more time learning Chinese when I was younger, but I was like, nobody around me speaks Chinese. Why would I need to learn how to speak Chinese? And we didn't live like in an area where there was like an Asian community around us. So I think for the couple that were looking after me. Like, they treated me like their grandchild. They were amazing. So I was lucky to have them, and it helped me to assimilate into like a Australian school, Australian context. But yeah, it's interesting to see how like everyone sort of comes to terms with their experience in different ways and at different times. And I don't know, I think it's cool that we can all support each other.
Yes.
And yeah, share insight and perspective, because I think being able to connect over those sorts of experiences, even though they're like traumatic, at least you know you're not alone, and there are ways for you to move through them as well.
Yeah, I remember when we first met, like we talked a lot about all these experiences and stuff, and I felt like this is why we got along so well, like in the beginning, right away, because I felt like okay, even though we lived in very different places, I believe like Germany and Australia is like super far away, not only in terms of like, you know, like distance, but like we had a lot of similar experiences. Also, I heard you speaking Chinese, and I think it's really cute. I like the Chinese.
One character at a time. So you didn't grow up in Berlin.
No.
When did you decide to move from where you grew up to Berlin? Or like, was that because of study, or was it because of career?
So I was actually studying very close to where I used to live, like in West Germany. And I went to uni for like 3 semesters. I was so freaking depressed. Uni was like hell for me. But it was also because I studied management and economics, and I just felt like it was really, really soulless, and I didn't feel inspired. And this was the time when I started to like make a bunch of YouTube videos, because I was trying to find ways to avoid going to uni. And it was just really bad, and I was just really depressed, yeah. And then at some point I realized, okay, this is not good, like I don't want to continue this anymore. And I've been to Berlin like a lot of times before that because of friends who moved there. And also like back then, I don't know if it's with all German schools outside of Berlin, but we had to do a bunch of like trips to Berlin to go to Reichstag, you know, see all of these like political buildings, and learn about the Second World War, all of these things. And we did like a bunch of school trips, so I knew about the city in a touristy way already. But I felt like in Germany, I wouldn't want to live at any other place, because I need a place which is like, as I said, a bit more international, and where I come from, it's really, really German. And then I was trying to find an apartment here, but I had no luck. But I was also not looking for that long, because it was kind of hard for these apartment viewings. I always had to come and then book a hotel or an Airbnb or something, and then go to an apartment viewing, and then go back again. And it was just really stressful. And then one day I got an email from a production company, and they said they saw my YouTube videos, and they were casting me for a vlogging show in German, for like a German channel. And basically my job would just be to film myself for 30 minutes every day, like, and live in this house with a bunch of people I don't know, but all of them had different occupations. Like one of them is an influencer as well, and then there was one who's a photographer, another one who later moved in was in a reality TV show, and another who's a dancer. And like it was like a vlogging show. Just they I think they just try to like target young people. And then I was like, okay, that sounds interesting, why not? They were covering the rent and everything, so I was living here for free for the first 6 months I moved here, which was really, really nice. And that was a great start to not pay rent for 6 months. And then I was like doing this vlogging thing, and it was an overnight decision. Like they casted me, and then I had to send like a casting video, just like introducing myself and everything. And then I remember it was a Tuesday where they said, okay, I got the go from the producer, they really like you. And I packed a suitcase and I moved to Berlin on a Thursday, like 2 days after, just with one suitcase, and just stayed forever.
So how long was 6 months you were filming yourself for 30 minutes every day, because 30 minutes doesn't seem that much.
It doesn't seem that much. Like the show was canceled at some point because it was like too much budget for the outcome that they had, and like they also realized that the way they were planning it was a bit too much, because 30 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but you have to like accumulate like different situations to make it interesting. You know, you have to film like different situations and like force yourself to like go out, and sometimes you're depressed and you just want to stay at home and just want to chill in bed, eat a bag of chips and watch like something.
Okay, so you had to deliver like 30 minutes worth of content. It's not like you just filmed 30 minutes and then they cut it down. It's like you needed 30 minutes total.
So we're 4 or 5 people in the apartment, so basically everyone got like 10 minutes screen time, but we had to like film 30 minutes, so they had enough material to edit something out of that. And what really bothered me after a time like was that wherever I was going and whatever I was doing, I always had to like MC it the entire time. Like, hi, I'm going to this cafe, you know? And sometimes it was kind of awkward because, you know, of course I was hanging out with the guys in the apartment who were doing the same thing. So we had a mutual understanding of like how it is to like, you know, like telling people to like behind the camera basically what we're gonna do. But when I'm with other friends and they are not really in the sphere of vlogging, for them it was super weird that I would just like, you know, like saying like, oh yeah, we having this noodle soup right now, you know, like I had to say it to like imaginary people, and it was really weird. And then also like, of course I had days where I didn't feel like doing anything, but then I felt like because for the show I had to force myself to get up and do things. And that was really not good for my mental health. And I think because of that, I also stopped making YouTube videos for a very, very long time after finishing the show, because I felt like I had to film myself so much. I don't feel like talking to a camera anymore. But it was a really interesting experience. And I got along very well with the people like in the show. One of them, I moved in with him afterwards, and now he's my manager. So we have been knowing each other since this TV vlogging internet show. And yeah, it was a really interesting experience, but to be honest, I wouldn't do it again.
Yeah. Some things you only need to go through one time.
Yes.
But then you stayed in Berlin and you decided to transition into like full-time influencer work?
Yes.
Or...
it was really helpful to move here because I feel like most of the PR agencies and stuff are here in Berlin. Also, I was signed to a modeling agency here. And the modeling agency was also helping me to get like influencer jobs, because I feel like it's starting to like morph together. Like a lot of models have to be influencers nowadays, and vice versa. Like a lot of people are booked for their internet presence and not only for their looks, which I think is also really great, because it's also like part of this like body positivity movement. If I would still live where my parents are. And yeah, I got to know like a bunch of people, and then people got to know me, and like building up contacts and everything. And then I started to do it full time, and I was really surprised like how well it worked, because when I started, I felt like the job in that sense was very, very new, and no one really did like know like what the prices are. Like we all had to like figure out everything. But also I'm really happy now that I have a management who's doing my emails, because that was like my downfall. I hate writing emails and like to clients, because sometimes clients are really mean, to be honest.
Yeah, you need like that buffer, because I remember when we were in Shanghai and you like opened your emails and you were like
yes. I like every time I opened my emails was like a small panic attack. Like I was like...
Yeah, I think at the time you were like in the process of having your friend start to manage you as well, so you were like, thank God I don't have to deal with this as much. But I remember when you would just be like, I hate writing emails, I hate this, what do I say? Why do I have to do this?
Yeah, like it's not really not my thing. Yeah, but it works very well with them that like they are writing the emails now. I also like trust them fully. I think this is really nice, like that I have management. We were friends before they started to manage me, so they not only have like money as their interest, they also have my well-being and my mental health and everything, like you know, like that's priority. And I think that's really nice, and that's what a lot of managements don't have, because a lot of managements are like, okay, you're bringing jobs and making money for us, but
Yeah, you're just treated like a product, not necessarily like a person as
yes.
well. Do you have like a process where a creative process and also like a process in terms of how you choose the work that you do? Because at this point you probably get approached very often. So like, was there any strategy between when you first started, how you took jobs in comparison to now, do you think? And like, has your approach changed?
I think I was always like quite selective. There are certain things that I would never do like ads for. I feel like in the beginning when like influencing just started, most people were like promoting flat tummy tea and like what else was there, like I remember there was this like cheap like wig shop and all of these things.
Teeth whitening.
Oh yeah, these like teeth whitening, laser, blue light type of things. Like these are things that I would never promote because I don't know if that shit works. Probably not. It's just like, but it was just like really weird that like everyone was promoting that. I was always very selective, and I only do ads for things that I would buy myself or like wear myself or use myself. You know, think about if you would use that product yourself, or if you would wear whatever you're promoting yourself, and I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah, definitely. Because you get very rogue requests once you start.
Oh yeah, I also
building an audience.
Always declined. Like Fashion Nova reached out so many times, and I was like, no, I don't think so. It's not like I don't fuck with this like BBL fish.
Yeah. BBL fashion, true. Because I feel like the way that you create content is there's a lot more creative input from your end than like most influencers where it's just like pictures, but you also incorporate art and illustration into it as well. Were you always interested in illustration growing up? Was it an intentional decision to integrate the two things, or it just sort of happened organically? And like, do clients come to you for your illustration work?
So I think I was always drawing a lot because I remember I was a very active child, and the only way my mom would calm me down was like she would just give me paper and pencils, and then I was just like draw something. So I was always drawing, and I remember as a kid like I had the dream that someday I'm gonna be a full-time artist, like just like painting and drawing every day. And this is really how I got into it. I never really went to school for illustrations and stuff, and I just started to like try things out and then discover my own style in like illustration. And I think it happened pretty organically that I was intertwining these both things, especially after I got like a tablet and I discovered, oh, you can like draw digitally, you know, and digital drawing is really, really fun. A lot of people hate it. I feel like there are a lot of purists who are like, okay, traditional is the only way to go, but why not do both, right? Last year I had the first job where they really wanted me to do like a packaging design, which was also a very interesting experience because I've never done something like this before. I don't know how to use Illustrator. I don't know how to use like these things where you like these programs where you just lay out things, and because when you do packaging design, everything has to be like millimeter exact because there are like writings on it, and you know I learned all of these things then in the end through like YouTube tutorials because I never went to school
didn't
for that.
Help you do it. I thought you would like draw it and then they would do it format it for you, but you had to format everything.
I had to do like a rough format, and they would like make these like changes where it have to be like very exact, but I still they gave me like a sheet. Basically this is like how the packaging is gonna look like, and then I had to like use my tablet to like draw kind of around everything, and it was but still I had to figure out how to put this into Illustrator to make it a vector, and then so they can also make changes in the end. And I also had to like, you know, it was always a back and forth. They also told me like, oh, you need to like make this curve a bit like more to the right or something, and then I had to like, it was a lot of back and forth like that. Because I think usually you go to their office or something, but because of COVID, we had to communicate through emails and everything.
Yeah.
So,
Wow. Yeah, I remember you posting that.
Yeah, it was like a
It
perfume.
looked amazing. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It was just very last minute. The thing was like, I had a completely different design in my head. Like, I also submitted a design, then they changed so many things about it that it didn't look like anything I had in mind before, and then I was really unhappy with it. And then they told me, I think you have to like start over again. And then I had a deadline of 24 hours, and then I had a little mental breakdown. And then I sat down, I did like an all-nighter, just like doing a completely new design, and then they were very happy with it, and I was very happy with it. But I realized if I would be a full-time illustrator, I'd probably have mental breakdowns every week. It's a lot of like last-minute changes, and also you have to keep in mind if you, because the thing is like I draw a lot of girls, because I think women are the most beautiful thing in the world. And then they had like certain rules, like you are not allowed to put like people or like figures on packaging. Like there were certain rules about it, and these are things they didn't tell me before. So like all of the designs I submitted are not usable because they had like human like figures on it. I was like, oh, why didn't you guys tell me that beforehand? You know, like a lot of these
especially
things,
because your work already has a lot of figures in it, so they should be like, by
yes,
the way.
and I was like, oh, you saw like what I'm doing, and that was a bit weird. Like, why couldn't they tell me that beforehand? But yeah, it was still a very interesting experience, and I think I would definitely also like do that again, but also with my own things. I think the most important part, like of course I do that for clients, but what a lot of people don't realize, like my job is not only to like do these things for clients, my job is it also to do these things just for myself, and just for fun, I guess, and not with the thought behind it that I'm gonna make money for it, but just for the sole purpose of creating. A lot of people always ask me like, how do I become an artist? And I was like, if you have money in mind in the back of your head, if that is your intention, don't become an artist, because you will hate it in the end. And that's like the curse of a lot of things which are fun, like started as a fun thing, and then you make it a job, and suddenly you are forced to like meet deadlines, suddenly you're forced to like change things about your work that you actually love, but then you have a client who has like this commercial selling point in the back of their head, and then make you change a bunch of things, and then you don't identify with whatever you have created anymore, and then you hate your own work. And you know, this is something that you should try to avoid. And based on that, like it's fun to become an artist, but like also be careful with what you wish for.
Like you need to be genius level artist in order to be able to do whatever you want and not have to deal with feedback and make a shitload of money. And that's like 0.00001% of people might actually be able to achieve that. Being able to separate feedback from clients from like your own personal worth as well, because like your perspective is so particular, but other people see what you produce in different ways. And I think that's something that I definitely had to learn just like working in the creative industry. Like, okay, it's not always about it going my way. Just because I'm the creative doesn't mean I have the final say necessarily. It's actually the people who have money.
Yes.
The final say.
Yes. I think the most important rule is just don't take it personally, because usually it's not personal.
Yeah, exactly. How did your parents take you deciding to do this full time? Did they ever like encourage you in a certain career direction? When
They were very worried. I mean, my parents were kind of like, how do I say, like they were modern for immigrant parents, because I feel like if you have immigrant parents, they came to this country and they had to work really, really hard, and they know how it's like to be like have no money and like have to like work very hard. And of course, especially when you're from China, like education is everything. So my parents like told me you can become whatever you want, but like finish your uni. They were trying to like really push me towards like finish whatever education like you have started. And then I wanted to quit uni, and I was like super scared to tell my parents like I'm not gonna finish this because first of all, thankfully in Germany going to uni is basically for free. You had to pay like certain for like paperwork. You had to pay like 300 euros a semester, so 600 a year. That is literally nothing if you compare it to like what like students have. Yeah, that's crazy. But so for me, because I know, okay, I didn't put like super like a lot of money into like going to university. My parents didn't put a lot of money going to university. It was a bit easier for me to like quit and be like, okay, fuck it. And then I told them, and then they were very, very worried about me. Because they believe without proper education you can't reach your goals. And then I moved to Berlin, and I think something that I'm personally very proud of, like I live here for 5 years now. Yeah, it's 2022. I moved here in 2017 in February. And since I moved here, I've never asked my parents for a single penny. Like from the get-go, I was like sustaining myself in my own way, and then my parents realized, oh, okay, she never asked us for help, she never asked us to especially financial help, that means she's okay. And that was an indicator for my parents to realize, oh, okay, like she's fine, we don't need to worry. And the thing is, like, my parents didn't really understand what I was doing in the beginning because obviously they have never heard of the job either. But I remember
the new industry.
Yeah, I remember the first time they really realized, okay, like there is something behind it. Was I did like a modeling campaign for Monkey, and it was like a worldwide campaign. So my face was like in all of the windows and stuff. And then we went to Shanghai together, and there was a Monkey store, and it was so crazy to see my face in this window in Shanghai. Because I felt like if it was just local here in Berlin, it's, you know, like it's nice to see, but like it's local. But it was in Shanghai where no one knows who the fuck I am. And we went there, and my parents took like a bunch of pictures, and it was kind of awkward because my dad like went into the store, and the employees there, they're trying to help us, and he was like, oh, that's my daughter over there, like, and he was pointing at the pictures. I was like, oh my god, this is so embarrassing.
So cute.
And there I feel like they really realized, like, oh, okay, like she's going somewhere with this, because that was something they could see with their eyes. I feel like my parents are very pragmatic people, so if they see something in physical form, it's easier for them to understand than just like imagining, okay, like she's making money from taking photos on her social media. It's kind of weird.
Do your parents have social media? Like, do they follow you, or do you just have to send them updates of what you're doing?
My dad doesn't even really have internet on his smartphone, which I think is like, he doesn't use it, but my mom, she loves it. My mom follows me on Instagram, she follows me on TikTok, she watched like all of the YouTube videos I ever made. And she just like sees everything. And sometimes when I don't post for like a couple of days, she will call me and ask like, is everything okay? I see there's no like new picture on
no
Instagram.
Content.
new content, what's happening? And
that's so cute.
Yeah, she would like see everything. And sometimes like I have like, I don't know, like maybe like bikini pictures on my Instagram. It's kind of weird to think about my mom is looking at them, but then it's also like whatever, like she saw me in a bikini before.
Yeah, like my mom doesn't have Instagram, but sometimes I post on WeChat moments. And if I'm not wearing a jacket, she'll be like, 你冷吗? Like, are you cold? 不要着凉. Do you have like any long-term goals for yourself, or like plans that you're working towards, or things that or do you feel like you're working in the area that you enjoy at the moment and you're going to keep where you're at?
I think I want to keep where I am right now, but I think I want to integrate more and more of art and like move towards at some point that not necessarily like 100%, but at least 50 up to like 80% is like mostly art related, and I would want that for the future. And that's something I'm working for, because not necessarily like for clients, but also you know, like doing prints, doing like my own I don't know, merch in that sense. That would be nice, but I don't want to print like t-shirts and stuff. I think I would like to do stuff like I had a design for like plates and like tea set, and I think that would be really nice to like do products like that in like small quantities.
That would be so cute.
Oh, I got a tattoo machine like a while ago, and I think I want to like pursue like trying to tattoo, and maybe in 5 years I'm a full-time tattoo artist.
Yeah, I remember you mentioning like when we first met that's something that you always thought about. Like if you didn't do influencing, or you always think about like different backups that you could pursue.
Yeah, definitely.
And tattooing is one of them. Has anyone ever asked you for a tattoo design before?
Yeah, 100%. But I think for me it's kind of like if I design a tattoo, I would also like to do it myself. So that's definitely something I want to try out in the future. But also like my career and my plans for my future have changed like 300 times already. Just, you know, I wanted to become a pilot. I went to here in Germany, like Lufthansa assessment center thing where you had to like fill out a bunch of stuff, and then I didn't get in because I felt like they didn't take a lot of women, to be honest.
To be a pilot.
Yeah, to be a commercial like pilot. So I think that's something, you know, like I wanted to become a pilot, then I wanted to study chemistry engineering. I didn't do that. Then I went into management economics. I quit that. Then I came to Berlin and do that, and I feel like why not pursue something completely different in 10 years. And that like I feel like everything is possible, and I think I like the idea of like not having only one career in your life. And I think it's like I spend quite a bit of time on TikTok, and I sometimes see like people who are now retired, they started to like pursue art, or they started to like craft things, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, you know, like even when you're like in your 60s, you can still go and like try out new things, and that's really fun. And I think this is like how I want to live my life, like not necessarily like being set on one thing. Why not trying out like different things if I have the possibility to do that?
Anything can happen, and life is very long.
Yes.
So keeping an open mind to different opportunities and like versions of yourself and expressions of yourself is what makes life interesting, I think. And if you have the privilege to do that, then I think people should go for it. I know a lot of people who feel so stuck in what they're doing, yet they actually have so many resources available to them to explore different avenues. And I think it's sad that we can be made to feel like our options are so limited, even when, especially for people who live in a state of like actual privilege and abundance. So
I know it's scary in the beginning. Like I was really scared when I quit uni, because I was like, damn, like because I was told my entire life, without education you're going nowhere. And then I realized education can come in different forms. You know, it doesn't mean you have to go to uni. You can also educate yourself by like reading books, by like I learned so many things through like YouTube tutorials. I swear, like whenever I try to figure out how to do something and I don't know how, I watch YouTube tutorials about it. And I believe that as long as you really have interest in something, you have the motivation to learn so many things about it, and not necessarily from university, but you can also learn it yourself, or go to like courses, and there are so many like other unconventional ways to learn things. And I feel like university and nowadays like also a bunch of online classes. Like yesterday I met with a friend, like she just filmed a Domestika class. Domestika is like a Spanish company, and they do like courses that you can buy, and like she is an illustrator, and like she was doing a 5-lesson course about like how you compose illustrations and stuff, and taught like people about like digital drawing. And I think that's really cool that you can get these like online courses, and they're really cheap. I think it's like 5 or 10 euros or something, and then you can buy it and learn about it. And I looked on their website. Like this is not an ad for Domestika, it's just because she was here in Berlin. I saw there were like courses about how to make furniture, and I was like really interested in that because I just moved houses and I was looking for furniture. And I was like, wait, maybe I can make my own furniture. And then I started to watch this course, and I think it's really cool that you can teach yourself things like that with like online courses. I think I watched like a TED talk, and they said like a very, very interesting theory, or like an interesting metaphor about how the education system works. So there was like, he described it as imagine you're a frog, right? And you're really, really good at jumping. And then the school system works like this. You're very good at jumping, but then there are other things that you have to do, like flying, swimming, I don't know, like running. And the frog, who's really good at jumping but sucks at flying, now has to force himself to like learn how to fly. And this is how the school system, like, you're really good at maths but you suck in, I don't know, English. And then instead of like, you know, improving your skills in math, you have to like concentrate on learning English. And that doesn't make any sense. Like, you have to like, you are forced to spend more time on things which are maybe not naturally come to you. And this is how the school system works. And I realized, okay, maybe we should try to aim for a school system where you find out what the natural interest of someone is, and then try to like move towards that direction.
Yeah, like being able to nurture what people naturally are good at, and then also giving them the opportunity to like expand beyond that. Because I think for me with law school, like, even though I didn't naturally think in the linear way that you're required to for law school, I think that it was necessary for me to have that training in order to then be able to combine like creative thinking with logical linear thinking as well. So I think like on the one hand, but that really did kill my creativity being at law school. Like, I was extremely depressed for a very long time while doing that, because I didn't have anything around me that was able to really nurture the creative side of me other than DJing, but that was its own shit show as well. So I think like finding the balance between being able to challenge yourself and extend beyond just what comes easily, but then also feeling confident in what comes easy too. Because something that I always struggle with is like, if it comes too easy to me, I feel like I haven't earned it, because it's like, oh, it's easy for me to paint, or it's easy for me to DJ, easy for me to do these things. So then I'm like, did I even do it? Because I didn't struggle, because I'm so used to feeling like everything has to be hard. So something that I can work through with my therapist. There's so many different ways that you can educate yourself now in a way that wasn't available to me when I was younger. I just felt like it was uni or nothing if you wanted to. I mean, I was from a very small town, city, so it just seemed like there was hardly any options unless I left. So, yeah. So, let's talk about dating. I know that you're in a very healthy, committed relationship, so I would love to hear, I think everyone would love to hear, your journey from pre to now.
Okay, so to talk about my previous dating experience, it was really terrible. Like, I had a lot of very toxic experiences, and I realized the problem was not only the people I chose to date, it was only me, because I felt like a lot of the toxic relationships I had, now in retrospective, when I think about it, it was because something was missing in my life, and I tried to fill this gap of whatever was missing with another person. And now being in a very healthy relationship, I realized, okay, like my boyfriend, he doesn't fill a gap. We are two like complete beings in that sense. And instead of like trying to like, you know, fill a gap, we coexist together and like give each other more than we already have. And that was like a big revelation I had, because like the most toxic relationship I had actually when I was in 2017, it was shortly before I came to Shanghai and when we met. That was like really, really bad. And I realized it was because I just moved to Berlin. I didn't have a lot of friends there. I felt very lonely, and this is like why I even got into this relationship, even though like I knew it was bad for me. I realized that with like a lot of people who, like, for example, move to a new city and try to like, you know, find connection, and then they find connection in someone who doesn't deserve their attention at all. And then after that I was like single for a long time. I used to like date here and there, but it never felt right. Dating was so hard because a lot of people, they were trying to like be too cool about it. They're like too casual, you know? And the thing is like I don't expect when I meet someone, okay, this is gonna be a relationship immediately, but I still enjoy the feeling to be taken seriously. And this is like what a lot of people did not do. They, you know, they were like not texting back because they think it's cooler to not text back and to like hard to get, you know, they were playing hard to get. And I was like, and the thing for me is a lot of people, when they realized, okay, this is happening, they're trying even harder. For me, it was like, I'm losing interest because I don't have time for this shit. So
Yeah, like for me, if I'm dating someone, I think because I'm so selective with who I date, and it doesn't mean that every relationship I've had has been healthy, but it's all, most of them start out with like there being effort and the bar being set quite high. So I will not tolerate someone who's trying to play hard to get or trying to play games. Like usually people come correct at first, and then there'll be like a slow decline. And then I'll be like, what am I doing wrong? Or I used to be like, what have I done? How can I fix this? And then I just get to the point where I'm like, I don't need this. Get out. But I feel like it's the opposite, or people think that it's the opposite, like it's going to start with poor communication and somehow the communication gets better. I don't believe. If anything, it starts off well and then it declines, or you're able to maintain it, you know? So it's like whoever can maintain the vibes is the most important.
I also had it the other way around, where like, especially with the very toxic one in like 2017, I don't want to mention his name. He's like my Lord Voldemort, you know, like his name is not to be mentioned. For him it was like, he was really, really nice in the beginning and was so like attentive and everything, and then it really declined from there. But like you know, like it really went down, and not even in the sense of like that he would like ignore me. He would like really bring me down, like by telling me, oh, you look really shit today. I was like, okay, great, thank you for this awesome compliment. but this is, I feel like, how, because recently like I met a girl who is in a similar situation where I was back then, and it's always like this really typical behavior of like treating you like trash, and then in between giving you this one little treat of these like wonderful 5 minutes where he is really nice to you and buys you presents and whatever, and then he's really trash again. And because you have these like nice moments in between, you always like, okay, it's gonna get better, it's gonna get better, and you're waiting for the next nice moment, and this is not really like a nice way to sustain a relationship. And I just feel very bad because I always believe like when someone treats you like this, you definitely deserve better. And but the problem is you can't force someone to like get out of that, because I feel like if you force someone to get out of this toxic relationship, that person's not going to learn from it, and is going to repeat the same mistakes with the next person she or he is dating. And I think it was really important for me to like go through this very toxic phase, but then realize myself, okay, this is not good for me, and I don't want that for my life, I don't want that for myself, and then get out of it myself. And I think that's really important, that you have to learn this lesson by yourself, and no one can help you out of that.
Definitely. Like it's the hard pill to swallow in life, is like you only really know what's good if you also know what's bad. But at least you need to recognize what's bad when it's bad, so you can be like, okay, I don't need to suffer. I could just suffer for like a month instead of suffering for like 10 years, you know? But everyone's journey is going to be different. Do you feel like you were consciously changing the way that you saw yourself and dating like in between that relationship and the current one, or it just sort of naturally happened?
I think it kind of naturally happened. I didn't start therapy before I was in my relationship right now. Like I started therapy like a year ago, and we started dating 1.5 years ago. The thing is, the guy I used to live with together, he has been in therapy for years. And I realized, like, because he went to therapy for so many years, that he became kind of my therapist for like a brief period. I don't know if it was like really consciously, but like he would always like give me these like speeches and like you know really ask me how pep talks and really ask me how I am. And this is like when I learned a lot from him in terms of like emotional intelligence, because I'm the type of person, because I saw that like how my parents did it was always like bottling up a lot of emotions and try to not show them from the outside. I remember like back then I used to like cry only maybe 3 times or 2 times a year. Now I cry 3 or 2 times a week at least, sometimes a day. And but then it feels really good, you know, because I let it out. And I had a phase where I was never letting my emotions out because I felt like, okay, it made me weak, and I don't need it, you know. I can go through life without showing these emotions. And like by bottling all of this up was just really bad for me. And like because of I was living with him and he's a very emotionally intelligent person, he taught me a lot about that. And then the doorbell is ringing, my boyfriend's gonna open it. And then and then this is like how I also realized, okay, maybe I also need professional therapy. I think that was really important to have this like period where I was living with him together, where I learned a lot of these things, and going from that into the relationship I am right now. And I think what's really great about the relationship I have right now, like I was not actively dating at that point. We met on a Black Lives Matter protest, and then he just moved here like not super long ago, and then he moved into his new apartment. And then I'm really into plants, like I'm a crazy plant lady. And we were talking, just like chatting on Instagram, and then he's like, yeah, I need like plants for my apartment. I was like, oh, I can help you with that. And then we just went plant shopping together, and it was not really a date, it was just like meeting up and just hanging out. I think I realized that it felt really good. Like the moment we met, it felt really natural. Like nothing was forced. Like from the first second on, I felt like, okay, I can be 100% myself. Because sometimes you meet strangers, and then even though you don't do it on purpose, you're not, you know, maybe you don't show certain sides of yourself. And this was something I didn't have with him. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. It feels really like we have been knowing each other for a very long time. And then from there on, we started like dating, and and we've been together for 1.5 years now. Yes, now we live together. We moved in together like 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Thank you. And the thing was like, I think what was really interesting is that we met during COVID. So a lot of the things that you do when you like start a relationship, like going to bars, I feel like a lot of people like date by going to like bars, restaurants, etc. We couldn't really do that. We were like at each other's we were like at each other's homes from the get-go. And then also like we were like spending so much time together. Like for a month we would see each other every day. And then I realized, okay, like because back then when I was dating, when I see a person like too often, sometimes I feel like, oh, I just want to be by myself for a long time. And I never had that feeling with him. And then I realized, okay, this feels right. I think this is like going somewhere. And this is like also the first person I can actually imagine a future with, which is really nice.
I love that. It's cool to hear like the journey that you went on, because I think sometimes people think like they get so used to toxic dynamics and situations that they just think it has to be like that forever. But obviously there was some sort of shift within you, whether you were like conscious of it or not, where you realized that like you didn't deserve that, to be treated like that. And a decision that you need to make in order to see other opportunities, to see people who aren't going to do that, because sometimes you're so like, whether you realize it or not, you're actually seeking the same thing just because it's what seems familiar. So I think for you to be able to decide that you didn't want to deal with another fuckboy again and make decisions in alignment with that is something that I think everyone who has experienced or is experiencing toxic relationships can learn from, or like at least feel hope from. You know, it is actually within our control to a degree to decide what to leave behind and how we can move forward.
Definitely.
Well, it was great having you on the podcast, Kiki.
It was really fun. Thank you for having me.
You a lot.
Miss you a lot.
And I hope we can see each other sooner rather than later.
Yes, hope so.
But all the best in the meantime. Bye.
Bye bye.